What is going on, everyone? Trust the Buzz here. If you're new to the channel, I make Charlotte Hornets content. So if that interests you, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. If you cannot tell by the thumbnail title of this video, we're talking about Mark Williams and the trade. So as you can see, Shams Charania posted 12 hours ago, I don't know, how the Charlotte Hornets traded Mark Williams to the Phoenix Suns. So now they have Cody Martin, Nick Richards, and now Mark Williams. They had Vasa Micic, but he's actually coming back to make the money work. I don't know what the Hornets are going to do with him. Probably waive him or use him as salary to make another trade. That's kind of what I think will happen, but we'll see. Either way, they traded him. They traded Mark Williams for Micic, number 29, and a 2029 first round pick, which is 2029 first round pick. Is like the lesser of Phoenix, Cleveland, and Minnesota or something like that, I believe. And then obviously we took Liam McNeeley with that 29th pick. So as far as this trade, what are my thoughts on it? My thoughts would be, for Mark, I did not want to bring him back necessarily. Even before the Laker trade, you all know how I felt. I felt as though, you know, he puts up a lot of numbers. He has really good games. I think he can be a good player. He just wasn't really that impactful, especially defensively. He got killed in 5 out. There were times where he was just out-muscled by the other center. And with a team like this, I don't think your center can be that way. The way we kind of run our offense, does our center need to be our top, one of our top players? Not necessarily, but they do need to be an impactful player. They need to be able to protect the rim. They need to be able to block shots. They need to be able to move, fluidly around the offense just so things don't get cluttered. I would suggest a center that we draft, or not a center that we draft, but a center, whoever we have in the center position, should be able to shoot to some extent, whether it's a corner three or just a little something out in the mid-range. I think a little shooting from our center would help a lot, but it doesn't have to be like even elite shooting for a center. It just give me decent. Like, I think that's what we could work with while providing, high level defense. And he just wasn't that. I don't think he was that. He really didn't, shoot the ball that much. As I mentioned, it's not like his defense was that great. At times he would make good defensive plays. He was good of kind of like helping, having some help defense at the rim and then blocking the shot that way. But very rarely was it just him, straight up man in the paint and blocking it. I think he's much better offensively speaking, and just has like the tools to be this center, to defer some people from the rim. But it's not like enough to, one, fit the team, and then two, considering just how the NBA is going. I just felt as though he's just a step under a lot of some of the better centers that are in the league. I think for the Suns, while some people think it may not make sense, I think a lot of people don't understand, and not Hornets fan, I'm sure we all understand, but like national, media and fans of other teams, what they don't understand about Mark Williams is that he isn't that. I think everybody thinks he is, but he's not. So then I think that's why they're confused about having Khaman and Mark. If you're the Suns, like, maybe I would want to look somewhere else instead of drafting Khaman to, to help this roster, because, we lost Kevin Durant, of course, and then even then with Kevin Durant, Brad Beal, Devin Booker, you weren't able to even make the playoffs. So you're looking at that and saying, how can we make this team better? I understand maybe want another player, but I think you did need another center to kind of go with Mark. Because while Mark is like, he can get you a 2010 game, he can get you a 2015 game every now and then. I think Khaman is going to be the one that you really need to, if you're going against the Embiids, the Jokic's, the Giannis's, even though he's not, a true center. But if you're going against those guys, even Wemby to an extent, because I believe that Maluach has some fluidity out, leaving the paint. You would rather have him do that and then have Mark kind of be that guy. Okay, the pick and roll, he's getting offensive putbacks and things like that. So I think they kind of fit more than people think. However, I get that, Phoenix, in the situation Phoenix, and it may call for more. But as far as for us, I think that's decent value. You got to think about it. We traded him originally for Dalton Connect, a pick swap, and Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish was never really going to be a part of the team. Dalton Connect was, obviously recently a first-round pick, and then we had another first-round pick and then a pick swap. So you're not getting essentially the extra pick, because you got another first-round pick, which you picked Liam McNeeley, and then you have, the 2029. So there's your 2 first-round picks. You essentially just didn't get like that pick swap, but considering, how that played out, to get 2 first-round picks, I think is good business for Mark. Now, this deal is not complete in my opinion because now we don't have a center. We have Nurkic and we have Moussa Diabate, who he's like more of this like energy small ball 5, really like a 4, like a really glorified 4. So we need help at the center position. I want a veteran, but I'm not going to be mad at Ryan Kalkbrenner, Maxime Renault, who we'll talk about in this next video where I talk about guys I want in the second round. But yeah, I think we just need a center. I don't feel as though you can say Mark, trading Mark is necessarily the right decision until we know what they do to backfill that position. Because even though I did not want to bring him back because of what I mentioned about the core, I also just didn't want to pay him considering all the games he missed. If you're the Hornets, I don't see the point of trading him just to trade him because he was going to have to play if healthy. So that's the only thing. And I'm not saying they've done that. We don't know. I feel as though this is incomplete. This trading Mark Williams, the trade itself, I'm fine with. I think this is a great trade, all things considered. The situation, I think, is to be determined because I need to see what they do with that center position. That's kind of how I feel about it. Once again, I would much rather a veteran center. I've been screaming for it for a while now, but I wouldn't be mad at any of the second round picks. I just wouldn't expect them to be like starter day one because that's what we're looking for, a starter. And Nurkic could be our starter if we were repeating last year, but I think after this draft, the way I'm looking at it, you don't make these picks and not trying to win games. I'm not saying it's going to automatically translate from the Hornets winning 19 games to winning 50 games, but there needs to be a step there. And I don't want to compare it to OKC, but if you watch like to how they became what they are, and you can even use the Pacers, and there's a few other teams you can honestly, the Rockets, like I said, a few other teams you could use in this scenario. They gradually got better, and right now we're just the same, but this is the difference. I feel like before the Hornets were the same in terms of, we're always 9th, 10th to picking 11th. Now we're always 5th, 6th, 2nd, 4th. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where at some point you have to build towards something. If we just don't win games, but we have our system in place, we have guys that fit our system, there is, positive gain from all the games being played, even though you don't win. I could take that right now in the situation we're in. But just going out and playing like the load management game with LaMelo and all this and that, I don't know. I don't know about that. Nurkic can't be your center if that's how you're going to approach the season. If you're approaching to win, which that's what I think this draft kind of is doing. Once again, not to automatically make the playoffs win, but win we're not losing 19 games again. If we win 30. And we just this is the way I put it. Like the Spurs, you look at them; they were on track to possibly make the play-in. I don't think there was really anything stopping them, but they felt as though, as a team, we are not ready. Like we would get there and maybe just go out. Our guys are kind of limping to the finish line. In fact, Wemby, you're done. De'Aaron Fox, you're done. And I know like they had real injuries, but there was no type of even hope that they would come back. It was like, it's over, we're focused on next season. And then look, they ended up getting the second pick, and I think that if the pick stayed where it originally was, it'd be like 10, 8, something. It was something like that. So that's what I see for the Hornets next year. That's what I want them to do. If we're winning games, and then you're just like, we're just not quite there. LaMelo, he's still shaky on back-to-backs. Brandon is not all the way there. We just got Grant back. It's like that going into the playoffs. I could understand, okay, we're just going to shut it down. We won our 30 games. We showed progress. We're just not going to put our guys in a position to continue to get hurt when there's really nothing to gain from it. We just not ready yet. I would take that. But just from the get-go being like, we're going to ruin the season and hope we get a, I don't want to do that. And that's what we did last year. So that's how I feel. Once again, the trade itself I like. The situation is still incomplete to me because I need to know what we're doing with the center position. I would prefer someone that can, like I said, stretch the floor a little bit better than Nurkic. But at the same time, I do believe in getting that defensive center because right now we don't really have any defense. Hope they get like Rasheer Fleming to help with that. But anyway, we'll talk about that in that video. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.